I can't be the only person who is just a little bit disappointed by the Sony WH-1000 XM6s. Don't get me wrong, these are a great pair of headphones. The ANC is near best in class, thanks to the new Q3 chip and passive isolation. And Sony's really hyping these things up for their sound quality, which I must say does a great job of reproducing music without adding any distortion. And sure, these headphones have their weaknesses too. The ear cups are quite lackluster. The ANC driver sticks out just a little too much, making them quite uncomfortable to wear. But overall, these are just fine. But when you look at Sony's marketing in the lead up to the release of these headphones, you see all this marketing jargon, boasting transcendent sound, richer detail, authenticity in every note. And after months of speculation and buzz online, it occurs to me now that we were promised a revolution, and instead, we got some better hinges. This is a problem in tech today. It's not that new products are bad. Far from it. It's that the story we're sold doesn't match the experience we actually get. It's frustrating, not because the tech is failing, but because it feels like the ambition has flattened. Where innovation once meant reimagining what was possible, it now often just means tweaking what's already good enough. And at the end of the day, our devices keep getting newer and newer, but nothing's really getting better. Look, I can sit here and run through the same old tired script with you. These are great headphones, these are their problems, but this is why you should buy them anyway. But you and I both know that's not always what tech was, and it's certainly not what tech is capable of. What about when Sony, this very same company responsible for the XM6s, unveiled the Walkman in 1979? This little device was the first time that music was made portable in a wide-sweeping, mass-market kind of way. You could take the joy of music with you everywhere, and it paved the way for the portable music player. What about the rise of MP3s and digital music through the late 90s, which killed the dominance of physical media and laid the groundwork for streaming? Far and away the dominant mode in which we experience music today. And what about when Apple revealed the first iPhone? This was a new idea of what a phone could be. It dared to be different, and that mattered more than the spec sheet. It made you feel that the future had arrived in your pocket. What about the first of the Bose QC line and the arrival of consumer active noise cancellation? Or what about true wireless earbuds popularized by the Apple AirPods? Or Dolby Spatial Audio, or etc, etc. These products had one thing in common. They each revolutionized the way we experience sound, and they built on the innovations of the products that came before it. They had ambition, and it was this ambition that gave us moments that defined eras. A world where music isn't tethered to your home stereo, where 1,000 songs fit into your pocket, and where silence is just a button press away. But in tech today, it seems we've moved from leaps to steps, from invention to iteration, from vision to optimization, and that's the real tension here. When a product starts to ship with the language of a revolution, but with no real actual substance, we start to wonder, is that all there really is? Back to the XM6s. We're told that these headphones offer, quote, authenticity in every note. That the experience is, quote, transcendent, but really it's the same user experience, the same shape, many of the same compromises. This isn't a lack of quality, it's a lack of ambition. For an extra $50, Sony's basically given us a new hinge and a bunch of marginal improvements. Sure, they work just fine, but this isn't just about one pair of headphones. This is about a broader malaise across the entire tech industry. Take smartphones, for example. We arguably peaked with the iPhone X or the Pixel 6 Pro. Since then, most updates have been about marginal camera improvements, slightly more efficient chips, slightly brighter screens. Phones are better, but they're not different. They're not exciting. Yeah, laptops. They've gotten thinner, bezels are smaller, trackpads are larger. Apple's M1 chip was a spike, a real leap in performance per watt. But since then, it's just back to the same old grind. Introducing the new MacBook Pro. It's 18% faster, it runs cooler. Year after year, the numbers go up, but the meaning goes down. There's an idea in computer science called Moore's Law, and it's the idea that chip performance would double every 2 years. That, right now, is slowing down. That exponential growth curve we once rode like a wave around the time of the first iPhone or the first MacBook, all that is flattening. And with it, the ambition of the products it once powered. Peter Thiel said it best. He said that, quote,
"We were promised flying cars, and all we got was 140 characters."
We had this sort of multifaceted, multidimensional progress in the first half of the 20th century, rockets and aerospace and the green revolution in agriculture, whereas today, on the level of the politics, the culture, the macroeconomics, there is this profound sense of stagnation that the younger generation will not do better than their parents. I think the computer internet revolution was the one big exception. And it is striking how uncharismatic that has become, even in San Francisco or Silicon Valley. The felt sense is that most people are somehow being left behind. It's not this utopian, inclusive future at all.
We used to dream of world-changing breakthroughs. And now, what was once tech as liberation, tech as empowerment, tech as creativity, has quietly turned into tech as distraction, tech as consumption. The future was supposed to be open-ended, and instead it's filled with algorithmic recommendations and products designed to be just good enough to keep us coming back, yet not good enough to push us forward. And I just can't help but feel that the WH-1000 XM6s, great as they are caught in that current. They're not a bad product, but they're a symptom of an industry that's forgotten how to ask the bigger questions. Not how do we make it 10% better, but how do we make it mean something again?
We think we've been in enchanted a forest, but we've been wandering the desert for 40 or 50 years or something like that.
In his eponymous article, writer Alex Morel argues that we're living in the age of average, a moment in time where creativity across nearly every industry has become flattened, safe, and homogenized. He points to everything from films and fashion to interiors and architecture, and he shows how in industry after industry, we've traded risk for reliability, identity for optimization, and distinction for sameness. That's not just true of art or advertising, it's true of technology too. The very field once synonymous with radical reinvention and disruption is now marked by repetition. So why? Why did innovation stall? Why does everything feel the same now? And why is all of my tech boring? For one, we've reached a period of time in tech where a lot of the low-hanging fruit in consumer hardware has already been picked. The age of the iPhone meant the radical birth of the touchscreen, but today we already have razor-sharp displays, batteries that can last all day. The basics are covered. To push further now, it takes massive R&D budgets for diminishing returns. Making something 10% thinner or 20% faster doesn't feel revolutionary, even if on paper it's progress. But the flip side to that, it means that today we live in a world where virtually any technology, any headphone we pick up will be pretty darn good. And yeah, for all this talk about boredom and diminishing returns, it's quite impressive to see just how far we've come. Also, innovation is risk, and risk is bad for business, or at least bad for shareholders. For many tech companies today, in our volatile economic environment, it's safer sometimes to ship a new product that's actually a modest spec bump, and let marketing do the heavy lifting while engineering just holds the line. This isn't to say that disruptive innovations have completely disappeared from tech. Few will disagree with me when I say that AI has completely revolutionized the way we live our lives. In many ways, it is the true revolution, of the kind we haven't seen in a while. But even amidst this radical disruption, and perhaps especially so in its shadow, we're reminded of the need for discernment. In a world of constant noise, of breakthroughs on one end and endless iteration on the other, retaining our humanity means being judicious about what we adopt, about what we upgrade, about what we let into our lives. So yeah, we're not making big leaps quite as often as we used to. But here, I've learned that maybe isn't such a bad thing. In fact, it might be a sign of success. The truth is, tech has gotten so good that we barely have to think about it anymore. Heck, you can get a whole bunch of headphones for less than $100 that are pretty close to the XM6's performance, like the Anker Soundcore Space 1s or the JLab JBuds Lux ANC. And the vast majority of these budget headphones get good scores in our testing, despite sometimes costing just a fifth of the price of the XM6s. And when something, like our headphones, becomes so embedded in our daily lives, it becomes invisible, and it stops feeling like innovation and more like plumbing or oxygen. As Ian Bogost puts it in The Atlantic, the fact that phones and audio gear have become boring, that is the innovation. It's the mark of technology doing its job so well that we've started to take it for granted. We shouldn't get bitter about that. We don't need to sneer at incremental upgrades or blame the industry like resentful tech purists. At its best, Technology was never supposed to be the main character, but the supporting act. It's a tool that made our lives easier. And really, that's where the whole wonder of tech has always come from. It's in fashioning these tools that allow us to push the boundaries of who we are and who we can and ought to be. Technology made life feel more alive. That there is what we have to hold on to. The point isn't the product, it's the experience of it, how we use it. Headphones like the XM6 aren't just powerful because of their impressive spec sheets, but because they make it easier for us to experience the wonder of music everywhere we go. They're meant to make our listening experience better, such that we can share in the music and the auditory experiences that connect us to other people. They allow us to feel a song, to connect with a musician's writing and instrumentation. Having access to good tech elevates that experience for us. But to have that experience, you don't need to buy the new thing every year. You don't need the latest spec bump or marginal improvement. Sure, if you're out in noisy environments always, then maybe that extra 10% reduction in noise will come in handy for you. But that's the key. Be present and judicious in precisely what you need those headphones for and how they'll serve your specific use cases. Indeed, what we all need is to stay connected to what tech is for. It's not here to be worshipped, it's here to be used. Used to connect, to create, to feel, to be present. The next leap forward, then, isn't a faster chip or a sleeker design. It's in changing how we think about the tools we already have, as extensions of our attention, our creativity, and our sense of self. The danger with stagnating innovation is not just that products are boring, is that we forget the human stakes. When we lose sight of what tech is for, we start chasing features, specs, and noise for its own sake. But so long as we use our tech to enhance our lives rather than live them for us, then maybe we're a bit closer to getting it right after all. Thanks for watching, buds. I'll see you in the next one.